Welcome to Matters of the Heart podcast with Rashonda, Thursday's Tip Edition. Do you need some advice? Need some ideas to improve a specific situation, whether in the world around you or just an individual fix? Well, that's what Thursday's Tip is all about. I don't just tell you how to do it, but I'll always offer a couple of tips on things you can do to succeed in the process. Thursday's tips are geared towards making us feel empowered, starting from the inside out. So, what are you waiting for? Come on in and let me share a couple of tips with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday's Tip episode. You're listening to the Matters of the Heart podcast with Rashonda. I talk about inspiration, motivation, wellness, and mind peacefulness on this platform. I share experiences, advice, and knowledge to help you and me improve our life and learn more. And the content is always 100% positive, guaranteed, or your money back. There are only positive vibes happening over here, okay? Listen, well, hello. Did you miss me? I don't know if you all remember Martin. It was a 90s sketch comedy show by the one and only Martin Lawrence. And let me tell you, we couldn't wait to watch every episode. You could always count on Martin to bring the funny, whether it was with Shanae, Jerome, Roscoe, Bruh Man from the fifth floor. I think one of my favorite episodes, because there were many, was when Tommy Davidson played Varnell Hill. And that was his tagline. Did you miss me? That was a 2-part episode, but it was too funny. Years later, Martin is still one of my favorite comedy shows to watch of all time. Outside of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, hello, and A Different World. By the way, what do you guys think about the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I like it, and I definitely love the characters. I think all the characters are fitting to their names. However, it's a little dark for me. But I did start watching it, and I do like it, but it's a little dark. But what do you think? Okay, I also love The Different World. It's good to laugh, and laughing is a major component of self-love, and which is what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. Self-love, but more of along the lines of, where does the self-love train begin? Which is today's topic. Where does the self-love train begin? So if you listen to the podcast on Sunday, I stated that today, for this Thursday's tip episode, I would be reading a snippet of Yolanda and I's new book, My Husband Chose the Homewrecker Over Me, Now What? A Guide to Discovering, Rebuilding, and Moving Forward After Infidelity and Divorce. When you look around today, you have a lot of people proclaiming the words, love yourself. And it's a catchy tagline, right? However, that's all it was for me, because it's one of the areas I proclaimed but didn't follow up with doing it, okay? I sucked at it. I was laughing but crying on the inside. And I'm a firm believer that everything has a root cause and is derived from something. No one is born a hater. No one is born deceitful. It's something that's picked up over time. So today, sit with me for just a minute as I share a snippet of the book and offer you a few tips on what you can do to get your train into gear. The reading will start after this. Stay tuned. Where does the self-love train begin? I've experienced quite a few things in life, and by the Lord's mercies and grace, I've overcome quite a bit of things as well. But there's one thing that I still today sometimes have an issue with, and that's truly loving and taking care of me. I was afraid of loving myself for a long time because I felt unlovable. Most of those feelings came from a sense of abandonment by a dad who I felt didn't want me because he wasn't around, and a stepfather who repeatedly molested me. Sounds weird, but that's what I thought love was. The issues I faced in life gave me a different view of what the word even meant. Growing up with a mother who had a complex background of what love was and who never learned to love herself or discover her worth didn't make life in that department easier for me. While I had my share of relationships, I still felt empty. It was then that I realized it was impossible for me to find love in them if I had not yet discovered it in me first. I was looking for someone to do a job I was too afraid to do myself. It took some years, some bumps, some ups, and many, many downs to finally get to where I am now, which resulted from a breakup years ago. There are women right now looking for companionship, someone to love them, support them, and lift them up when their tired hands are too weak to do so. We're looking for strong, good, and Christian men who are ready to quit playing games, settle down, and be fulfilled. But for that to happen, we have to become whole, not half, but 100 with ourselves. They say love is an inside job. With that, I've realized there are a few things that I have to work on internally, such as my health, mind, and emotions, before I even attempt to look in the direction of wanting a mate. This word became very evident when I heard the Lord tell me one crisp January morning, I want you to love yourself. Say what, God? I didn't exactly know what that meant because I thought I truly did love myself. But if the creator of the universe says otherwise, well, it's best to listen up. When we think of loving ourselves, the first thing we think of is our outward appearance, getting the nails done, a new outfit or hairstyle, taking ourselves out to dinner and a movie, or just having a good time. All those things are great and necessary, but loving yourself comes from deep within, such as, how do you view yourself? Is your low self-esteem running your life and relationships? Now that you've heard that small excerpt from My Husband Chose the Homewrecker Over Me, Now What by Yolanda Randolph and yours truly here, let's take a moment to dive deeper into the topic of self-love and how it can help us heal and move forward from difficult situations. As I mentioned during the excerpt, self-love can be a difficult thing to cultivate, especially when we've experienced trauma or neglect in our past, but it's crucial for our well-being and for building healthy relationships with others. So in the next segment, I want to share some tips and insights on how to start that journey towards self-love and healing. Be right back. Okay, listen, I got some tips. And this one is a two-part question. Self-love and healing, you got to address it. All right. Self-love is an essential part of healing and moving on after a difficult experience. And it's important to address any issues of low self-esteem that may be affecting your life and relationships. You have to sit in the pain. And I know most of us are afraid to do this, but you got to force yourself to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm nothing like they say I am. Listen, and I have to take it back to the word of God, okay, on this one. Do you know what God calls you in Psalms chapter 139, verse 14, and Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, the New Living Translation? I'm going to give you some homework. Look it up because I want you to see it for yourself, okay? Psalms chapter 139, verse 14, and Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. People have called me everything in life but a child of God, all right? I was even told in high school that when I laughed, I looked like Mr. Ed. the TV show that used to come on back in the day. It was about some horse who could talk, apparently. I really didn't look at the show, but I knew of it. When I say that made me feel bad to be compared to a horse, that was an understatement. I didn't smile for quite some time because those words always rung loud in my ear. But the reason why I want you to look those scriptures up, because I want you to see what God thought about you before he created you. When people go left, we have to go right to the word of God. Okay, did you catch that? When people go left, you got to go right. So when people go left, but you got to go right. But we go right to the word of God, because when I looked in it, it didn't say anything about Rashonda looking like Mr. Ed when she smiled. All right. As a matter of fact, he called me a masterpiece and said I was fearfully and wonderfully made. His work is marvelous, and my soul knows it very well. Now, those are the scriptures, but it's one thing to see it. It's another thing to believe it and hold it dear in your heart. I'm not saying things won't bother you, but we all know it's not about the information we get or receive, but our actions after. Tip number 2, don't be selfish. Take the time and work. Take time to work on yourself internally, such as your health, your mind, and emotions, before attempting to find a partner. There's a reason why I said don't be selfish. Listen, if you still got mama, daddy issues and need validation of someone telling you they love you every second, or have some major trust issues, don't enter a relationship. That's selfish, because the other person is expecting to get into a relationship with a healthy person, a whole person. And this goes for women, men, and myself as well, okay? I'm learning too. I'm not exempt, okay, from the come to Jesus talk. We all can come up just a little bit more. If you're self-conscious about your weight, then do the research and lose the weight. I think we live in a society where too many broken people are trying to heal broken people. Okay, let me say that again. We're living in a society where too many broken people are trying to heal broken people. Now, don't get me wrong. No one is going to be perfect in any relationship. I like to say I'm not perfected yet, but when Jesus comes back, I will be. All right. However, in the meantime, I do and will make mistakes, but I know how to admit my faults and work on myself. I also know how to apologize and compromise if need be. If I'm wrong, I'm going to admit it. I'm going to admit I was wrong after I've sat in the pain and had a little pity party, okay? I say all that to say, if you have not achieved those things and you're still blaming people and have a hard time admitting your faults or compromising, then work on your before, okay? Work on you. Work on your before you go into your after, all right? Okay, work on your before you go into your after to get with a boo. Only when you work on yourself will you be able to identify what you will put up with and what you don't want in a relationship. All in all, it starts with you. Now, those were the tips I have regarding loving yourself, truly loving yourself, because it's more than just a word or a tagline. It's about you. All right. It's about you. Are you living up to the words you speak about and say you are? I didn't mention this in the tips, but if you're really having a hard time coming to grips with who you are, listen, I believe in Jesus and therapy. Okay. We need the word and someone to listen to us. That's another thing I talk about in the book. Acknowledge God on where to go and get some counseling. I've done it. Okay, so I ain't saying I'm not exempt. I've done it, and it's needed. Don't let nobody shame you out of getting the healing you need. And there's so much more in this book, y'all. Today was only a snippet of the conversations and tips Yolanda and I both have in this book. Don't let the title fool you. My husband chose the Homewrecker over me. Now what? Is a guide to help those who have experienced infidelity, divorce, or any in-between relationship challenges to navigate the difficult journey of healing and moving forward. It provides practical advice and tools for discovering one's worth, rebuilding after heartbreak, and finding the strength to move on. Through personal stories and practical tips, this book offers hope and encouragement for those who are struggling to rebuild their lives after a devastating experience, okay? So, and I always say, and I don't know if you guys caught the YouTube channel or you caught the other video podcast that me and Yolanda did that I posted on here, but my chapter, I do talk about divorce, but I feel like my chapters is healing in any step of the relationship process you might be in. Okay, if you dealing with sexual issues and you can't stop having sex with the person you know you need to get rid of, okay, we talk about that. Sex and the ex and the sex, okay? So, we talk about finances because maybe you put everything, all your eggs in the basket with this person, honey, and now your finances is jacked up. We talk about that. So there's so much more to this book. It's more than just about divorce. It's more than just about infidelity, but it's a whole lot more. It's talking about wherever you might be in your relationship journey at this time. So listen, I thank you for listening to this, Matters of the Heart with Rashonda. I hope you found today's discussion on self-love and healing helpful. If you're interested in reading more, because that self-love chapter today was just a snippet, I offer more insight into the topic and how God gave me a layout of exactly what self-love looks like. So the book is available at all your favorite book outlets. As I said on the last podcast, the reviews are coming in and you can find those over there on Amazon, okay? I may be back next month with another snippet, so you never know. Listen, take care and remember, self-love is not selfish. You cannot truly love another until you know how to love yourself first. Talk to you later. That was it for today's episode. I hope you were inspired and feel positive vibes whenever you spend some time with me, Rashonda, and the Matters of the Heart podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to join me next time as we dive deeper into our spiritual, mental, and physical journey. You can follow Matters of the Heart podcast on Facebook to stay tuned for what's coming next. Feel free to share the episodes while you're here. Also, stay with me by subscribing wherever your favorite music and podcast stations reside. And as always, watch your heart because its actions will follow. Thank you for listening.